Here we go. There's my G, right? So I went higher. Okay, so just, again, I don't expect you to memorize everything that I'm doing. I want you to get the idea, the overall meaning of what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's what tone is to me, or touch, excuse me, is as I'm thinking about the phrasing, right? I'm directing myself toward a G. I'm not doing it every single time. There's no rules to this stuff. That's the beauty of guitar, is that you've got to feel this around. But if you think about it, it's like reading a good book or listening to a person talk that's very engaging. They don't use the same dynamics in their voice all the time. They don't use the same size sentences every time. They're always trying to make it interesting for you to stay engaged. And guitar is really no different. It's not just whether we know 15 different scales or something. If we can't engage with one scale, how are we going to engage with 15? It's not going to get better, you know. I always tell people your brain is the first thing that gets in your way of actually being able to make music, because people just we're humans. We want information, and that's good. But we've got to be able to process that information into something that sounds like music.
Love it.
So, yeah.
So tools, touch, tone.
Which tone I haven't gotten to, but yeah.
Right. So we've covered tools, we've covered touch, and we're going to move into tone. But before we do, guys, I want to thank you for being here. People who are joining us, who joined us a little bit late. Today we're doing a live session for you. It's called, this is part of the Blues Guitar Workshop series that Steve and I are doing for you. And everything that we're talking about today is related to Steve's new course. It's called Blues Guitar by Steve Stine, and it's available at guitarzoom.com. And also this playlist, guys, will be, as we make these recordings for you, all of these live sessions will be saved on the Guitar Zoom channel in a nice, neat playlist that you can go there and watch the entire Blues Guitar Workshop series. And also, if you're interested, you might want to subscribe and hit the notify button so you can be notified of the next live session they're going to be doing for you. Also, if you guys, someone could just put in the chat box for me or the comment box wherever you're watching this, Blues Guitar by Steve Stine, and then guitarzoom.com so people can know where to get the course if they're interested in that. Today, the entire thing that we're talking about today is on blues soloing. And Steve has covered already touch and, tools, and then touch. And now we're going to be talking about tone here in just a second. If you've got questions, please post them for us so we can answer those for you. And thank you for being here, for joining us a little bit late. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, so tools, again, think of tools as being preparation, right? We're trying to figure out the plan. It's always better to go into these things, especially if you're a performer or you want to become a performer. You don't want to get up on stage and not know what to do with a situation. So it's always nice to have, experience in multiple different, whether it's styles of music or even in the same genre, blues, maybe it's shuffle blues versus, swing blues or straight blues or whatever, or it's major versus minor. There's all kinds of different things. But it's spending a little time preparing, okay? Touch is the way that you play, the way that you approach, and that certainly includes phrasing. Tone, which is something I think people forget about a lot, and again, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a new guitar and a new amp to get the right tone. That might be true, but more true is learning to use what you've got, learning to dial in the stuff that you have. So, again, being basically a minimalist when it comes to guitar gear, because I really don't, I don't own a bunch of pedals and things because I don't really care about that kind of stuff that much. I just try and figure out how to use what I've got to my advantage. So like right now, my guitar tone, if I was to turn my guitar volume all the way up and know, I could get a pretty good rock sound out of this particular tone that I've got right now. You'll notice I got a little bit of the high end rolled off, just because it sounds kind of cool for the blues stuff that I'm playing right now. But if I take that and roll back that volume, all of a sudden it becomes much more subtle. And again, my picking attack is going to loosen up a little bit. See the difference? I grew up being a metal guy. I know it's hard to believe. Look at me, for God's sakes. But so when you play metal, everything is always about power and volume and speed and intensity and all these other things. Most of the time, anyway. When it comes to stuff like blues, you know, the problem is that if I change my guitar tone, for instance, to this, I love that sound, don't get me wrong, but I don't have a lot of dynamic space to go from there, right? It's meant to be powerful, where this tone is meant to have dynamics, so I can... So when they say, like, the tone is in your hands and all that sort of thing, there's always debate on all that kind of stuff. I've always thought what that really just means is it's all in your approach. Like, the way you pick, whether I'm playing a Paul Reed Smith or whether I'm playing an Ibanez or whether I'm playing a whatever, I'm going to play it the same way. The guitar itself might sound a little bit different, and so I might have to adjust the amp a little bit or whatever to appease my ear, but my approach is always going to be the same. You know, so... It's usually just the aesthetics of what the guitar actually looks like. So this looks a little more like a blues guitar than, say, my Ibanez Gem does or something like that. But honestly, if I wasn't on video right now, it doesn't matter which guitar I'm using. I'd use any of them. You know, I would adjust this all the same way. So now what I want you to notice is, right now, there's no delay and no reverb on there at all. And I used to be one of these effect people when I was a kid. And again, I don't know why, but so I never used anything, never used any effects because they were cheesy and you were cheesy for using effects. And what I learned a long way, a while after that, I should say, is that effects actually can be really fun and really sort of rock star-ish. And what they do is they help you to remember that maybe you don't have to play as much. Right? What I've always loved, like, I'm going to turn this on. Here's my delay and my reverb. This is a very typical kind of delay and reverb that I would use for something like this. Now, it's a little heavy on the delay. You can hear that. But what it's doing is it's taking up space where I don't have to play. So it almost slows me down because I like to hear that sound. That trail or tail often it's called. You see? So I can leave more space, and that allows me to relax a little bit and again focus in on how things sound and how things feel more than just I gotta play, notes, I gotta keep moving. I might just do something really mellow. Let me play that track again. Was the volume okay, Dan?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay. So if I did just this. Not much, right? But I'm listening. See? So I'm really trying to not think about, I gotta play fast, I learned this new arpeggio, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not making fun of any of those things. I can use any of that at my disposal, but it's got to be at the right time. I first have to set this up. And so that to me are really the basics of soloing, and in this case, certainly blues soloing, is learning to use the tools that you have to the best of your ability. Don't just keep thinking, well, if I learn this next scale, it's going to make it all fall into place. Or if I learn to play faster, it's going to fix everything. It won't. You've got to learn how to make a musical connection. And for me, the musical connection comes from all these subtleties that I'm doing. And again, you can like the way I play, not like the way it's fine. It doesn't matter though. It's not going to change. When I wake up in the morning, I do what I do, and I love to do what I do. I love playing. And so for me, vibrato and bending and sliding and all these things are just crucial to really making the guitar, just squeezing music out of the guitar as best you can. And then if you want to add on the speed or the power or something like that, because that's the way you like blues, I think that's wonderful, right? Or you go, no, I don't want any of that. I want it to be very minimal. Well, that's cool too. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever it is you do, you've got to make it sound. I've always used the word authentic. When somebody hears you, they've got to be able to equate what you're doing as music just as much as the band is doing, right? Or the jam track or whatever. It all equals music versus, oh, he's learning or she's practicing or whatever, right? It's not having those words. It just sounds like music. That's what you're looking for. Hey, Steve Stine here. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these sorts of videos, please subscribe to the channel. Now, by now, there should be some other videos available for you to watch on my left or right, so click on those to check those out as well. And all these videos are just smaller chunks of my larger videos from the main YouTube channels. One is Guitar Zoom, and the other one is Steve Stine Guitar Lessons. You can look those up and subscribe to those as well. And be sure to check out the premium guitar courses and lessons available at guitarzoom.com.